board meeting for Rockridge Schools. Those that are listening online can go to rrps.org if they want to follow along by going to District Information School Board Book, and you can follow along by following the agenda. Those that are here tonight over at the board table, we have agendas and copies of the information. At this time, I would like everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we all can, if you have your iPads or cell phone, please put them on silent. At this time, I'll do roll call. Director Yuhan. Here. Director Sorkin.
Here.
Director Addy.
Here.
Director Schultz.
Here.
Director Schulberg.
Here.
Director Culbert-Dahl. I always,
Here.
yeah. Director Tamero. And Director Reardon is here. Brandy sends her regrets. Her daughter has a game tonight, so she is going to go. She'll be attending that. So we have 8 board members present. Item number 2 is approval of the agenda. I have one item I will be polling, and that is item 8.1, combined working session with the City of Gilbert. That has been withdrawn and canceled.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion by John, second by Stacy. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Tonight we have no visitors that have requested to talk. So we're moving on then to item number 4, the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Matt. Support by Director Addy. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. So 7 yes and 1 abstention. Moves us on to reports. Funding update. Willie.
Good evening. I have all kinds of fun things ready for you, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's going to be a fun little ride here for the next couple minutes. Update on the fundraising is still going absolutely unbelievably well. Thank you to everybody who's still participating, everybody who has. This has been just incredible. So thank you for the donation for the boys hockey jerseys. So super kind. Our Grandy Ace Hardware, Claire Buskey, to the video scoreboard, the VHS Class of 81 Swimmers and Divers, Rick and Angie Widener, the Widener Family Foundation, for the Aquatic Center video scoreboard, another Class of 81 Swimmers and Divers, Steve Eilertson, for the Aquatic Center scoreboard, and Swimmers and Divers Class of 81, Donald Coe, to the Aquatic Center video scoreboard. What a great group this Class of 81 VHS Swimmers and Divers is. Thank you to Kurt Widener and all of his organization of alumni. It's really going to be an incredible board that goes in there now. Super excited for it. We're still fundraising for it, so if people are interested, please let me know. That's going to be an incredible setup in there. Thanks again to everybody for that. Thank you to the Virginia High School class of 72, Joanne Reski Kirkman, who is a nationally acclaimed artist, and Gail Foshi-Dibley, a $200 donation to the Art Club in memory of their VHS art teacher, Miss Moberg. Mr. Norland, the current art teacher, had his students make beautiful pottery for the VHS class of 72 50th reunion. Thank you for that, Mr. Norland, and thank you, Virginia High School class of 72. $4,500 has come in for the matching grant from State Farm. As you all know from previous meetings, thank you to Allison Krybeck for her $4,500. That was then matched to total $9,000 from Allison and State Farm. This is year 2 of the 6-year agreement. So Allison has donated $9,000 and so has State Farm. That total is now up to $18,000 to date. This money is used to purchase that awesome baseball scoreboard. So thank you, Allison Krybeck and State Farm. Thank you for the $1,000 from the Virginia Co-op Credit Union to Parkview. That was very nice. I got that phone call and they said, come and get this check. We just love those Parkview kids and to see them running around, and we want to give some money to the Parkview. So thank you, Virginia Co-op Credit Union. Changing gears now, going into the school to work engagement, the other part of my job. On October 5, 2022, we sent 34 students and 2 teachers to Discover Healthcare in Duluth at St. Scholastica to gain information on healthcare careers in the Northland. Shannon Mulliver's program will pay for transportation. The students went for 2 hours and then returned to school. We were lucky for the invite because it was planned for the Duluth area, but Shannon got us a special invite. Thanks for that, Shannon. Thank you to the teachers, Strasser and Ufford, for taking advantage of this great opportunity and for taking our students. A quote from Mr. Strasser: "Hey, Willie, the expo was fantastic. Many students wished that we had more time so they could experience more booths. I'm going to write up something for the school newsletter," and Todd took these great pictures. "I think we should go to this every year if they have it and encourage the local healthcare to offer an expo up here on the range." And both of us went along with 34 students. So part of our academy model, getting our students out to experience these events. Way to go to those teachers and students and everybody involved. We're getting ready to send 90 students to the Construct Tomorrow event on October 18 at the Curling Club in Eveleth. Thank you to Mr. Fury, Eichholz, and Mr. Foster for taking our students to this event and giving them this great experience. That is a monster event and matches again right with our academy model to give our students exposure, experience, and opportunities to get there, check out what's available, talk to places, and learn more about what they could potentially choose to study after high school, during high school, and get those experiences. So that's going to be great. All of our 6th graders on October 7, which already happened, went to the STEM showcase in Hibbing. Science, technology, engineering, and math. As you know, this is a great event at the Memorial Building that inspires the young students in all areas of STEM. Thank you to Scott Manny and Angie Williams, along with the 6th grade teachers, for allowing and encouraging this event. Love to see our kids get out there. And just an update on our Wednesday speakers for our Academy Career Exploration classes. These have started. We have a wide variety of professions coming in to present to our students about their career and all that goes with it. Both careers and college pathways are represented. Thank you to all the volunteer speakers and to the Laurentian Chamber for sharing this opportunity, which got us even more people interested. Just a quick list. I like to do this. It goes quick. We have foundations and community relations, the Navy, police, mining, human resources, mental health, law, construction, environmental engineering, consulting, social work, Cargill, conservation, county attorney, judge, and much more. These are the people that have already committed to come and speak to our kids on our Wednesday career exploration classes. So thank you to everybody who's doing that. And if anybody wants to come in and speak to talk about their profession, get a hold of me and I'll get you on the calendar. On Saturday, October 8th, our students were invited to elect medal and UMD with their science teacher, Lisa Rudstrom. What a great opportunity. Lisa, thanks for doing that. She does a super good job of getting our kids out there, and she's a part of all of that engineering stuff. So thank you, Lisa Rudstrom. Just today, and I have been working, today the meeting was to get this meeting set up with Jeff Terrell for a collaboration between Minnesota North College, Mesabi Evelyn campus and Rock Ridge schools to introduce and explore the medical careers pathway nursing program at Minnesota North Mesabi Evelyn campus. That was a great meeting today. There was about 10, 12 of us on that meeting getting all that set up, and that will continue to plan to get that healthcare academy started, get the pathway going, keep working, see what we need to do so that we're getting the kids ready, and if should they choose, they can go there to continue with that information already instead of blindly going into it and wondering if they should have. So that was a great meeting. Had a recent meeting with Orthopedics Associates on planning when they arrive on campus and how they can best meet our needs. More planning to come on that. Thank you, OA, for getting that meeting set up for when they come and all the opportunities that will be available for our kids. And I had another great meeting with Essentia on how they're implemented for our students in both experiences and the scholarships that are available. So we have set up a monthly meeting on that as we get ready for all of the academy work that will happen in the medical careers with Essentia. Thank you, Essentia. That's it, gang. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Willie?
Lee, Fairview hasn't stepped up at all, have they?
No, but maybe because I'm so busy with the two that we already have, I do have a connection at Fairview. I certainly could reach out to them. But right now I'm trying to keep the relationship going with those two, and should they, if you come across that, let me know. I'll certainly reach out to them, but I can reach out to mine too.
The other thing I was thinking, you should have Bob Voss come in and talk to the students. If you look in Duluth and surrounding areas, a good majority of their bus drivers are college students. They can arrange their classes, they can drive morning or afternoon, or maybe both. We have such a hard time finding drivers. That would be,
It's a great idea.
I mean, you can tell them, people think it's the most horrible job in the world, and it's not.
No.
That's not what you said when you did it.
No, that's a great idea. Thank you. I will definitely get that out and see if we can get that introduced to our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. 5.2, Evelyn Gilbert High School Principal, Todd.
Good evening. Thank you, Board Chair Reardon and directors for having me tonight. Wow, what a great start to the school year. Lots of great things going on in Evelyn Gilbert High School and across our district for our students. Kind of focus on the students here. 2 weeks ago, we had our homecoming. Just want to review. Congratulations to all the students, the royalty, all the great, for a great week. Jake Bradach and Kendra Rosati were crowned our royalty, and they represented our school along with all the other royalty throughout the week at all the various events. Thanks to Kyle Hammer and Susan Ellison. They're co-sponsoring the student council this year, and the students did a great job setting up the coronation, the decorations. And also we had a Rock Ridge bonfire in the Evelyn Gilbert High School parking lot. I was a little nervous, but it really went well. We had the Evelyn Police Department there, Evelyn Fire Department there. I want to thank them for helping out. The fire department was in charge of the bonfire, and the PD was there for safety reasons. We had lots of teachers there, and lots of students came from both schools. So it was really nice to see that event, and kids came up to me during the event asking, when's the next bonfire? Can we do one for Snow Week? So it's probably in the works. We'll see. Thanks to all the teachers for a great start this year. And then I also want to thank Laura Tassoni, our building secretary. She does an amazing job managing our school office and working with the students as well. Last Wednesday, Willie mentioned this already, so we had 34 students visit that St. Scholastica Health Career Day. It was awesome. I heard nothing but good reports from that. Thanks, Willie, for getting us in that. Appreciate that. And also Ufford and Strasser for taking the kids. So it was really good. Our culinary students got to venture into and visit some food trucks. We had them on campus during homecoming week. We saw the business in action. They took a look at the culinary side of the food truck business and also the business side. And I want to thank Janine Bauman for organizing that and having that come in for our students. Really fun to with them. Over the weekend, we had 30 specialized mountain bikes anybody knows anything about mountain bikes, Specialized is pretty good. Lifetime warranties and all this stuff for service. We're very excited to have these 30 mountain bikes that were delivered to our high school. It's all part of the PCN grant, and a grant written by Cassandra Haney with support from Rob Heinrichs, one of the teachers there. Kids went out for the first bike ride today in Mr. Heinrich's class. They'll be using those bikes. They'll be serviced every year. And there's also a covered trailer as part of the grant. It's not in our district yet, but that's in the works. The covered trailer will house the bikes and we can use them for years to come. Super excited about it. Actually, I went down in the basement today and in the hallway and maybe took a test drive. Right. Anyway, super exciting. We're housing them right now in the basement. We have a good storage spot for them and they're using those. So what a great thing. Again, thanks to Cassandra Haney, Mr. Heinrichs, and anybody else involved with that grant. Also, just want to thank Willie again for bringing in guest speakers for our career exploration classes and all that stuff he mentioned. So I really appreciate all the work Willie does getting us ready to go into our academy's models. And then last, I would just want to thank the admin team and also Mark Winter, our new principal at VHS and Rockridge High School principal. Super exciting to work with him. I think he's doing very well. So with that, I just want to thank you all. And if you have any questions for me, I can be happy to answer.
Any questions?
No questions, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I have a kid that's in 9th grade and came over for the bonfire, and that was sure a highlight.
It was great.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
5.3, Superintendent's Report. Noel?
Thank you, members of the school board. Now that you're just back from your tour of the new high school, members who are watching the board members walk through the new high school. So talk to them sometime and ask them what they think about the new high school. It's coming along very well, but that's not what's on my agenda. So I want to update the board members on a couple of things. Two of them are really important. One, strategic planning. So we are working behind the scenes, talking about major areas. I've already gotten the board feedback on what you feel are major areas. And because of the consolidation, because of the construction, we've had so many community meetings that we have a good idea about what the community is looking for and what the community wants. So we are using some information from those community meetings because there was a strategic plan that was developed as part of that. So, but there are some other areas that we're looking at with the admin group. So we're talking each person individual. This is mostly the admin group. We'll be coming up with some goal areas. We'll put it into rubric format, the same format you saw the curricular part of it, which is the 4 different parts of the rubric. So you'll see that. We'll talk with that. And so just to give you a general idea, we are looking at having you look at it, the rough draft form. My goal is the first board meeting in November. And then we'd let you think about it for a while. And then it would come back, and then sometime in maybe December, January at the latest, then I would be asking the full board, do you like what you see? Do you want us to go ahead with this, or do you want us to not go ahead with this? Because it just will be stronger if the full school board supports the strategic plan. And if you want to make some changes, there are some things you don't because you are the managerial group for the school district, then we can do that and do those ahead of time before it gets to the final one. So just a heads up, the strategic plan is coming. It'll be in rough draft. We'll talk and then hopefully finalize it January is what I'm thinking. Related to that a little bit because it will be in the strategic plan, High School Career Academy. What is happening in the High School Career Academy? And so we are talking to the principals, just in a meeting with Todd and Mark and some other individuals, looking at how does the upper elementary flow into the high school career academies? Because what we don't want to do, and this is what happens in those schools who are starting career academies, all of a sudden it starts in the 9th grade. Boom, you're in it. Well, we want to be a little more, let kids build up to it and have them get prepared in the upper elementary, 7th and 8th grade. So it's not all of a sudden, boom, now we're going to start it. So we think it's smarter to start sooner when they're younger, so the kids have more time to think about where their unique skills are, where it might match up. And I know 5th and 6th graders and 7th graders that there are things we can do. And so part of this will be what happens in the 7th grade, what happens in the 8th grade, what courses are kids taking in the 7th and the 8th grade, what are we teaching them, what are the important things that we believe kids need to know, talk about, so they're more prepared when they get to a 9th grade course, and what are they taking in the 9th grade course? Because we know when the kids get to be juniors and seniors and they're maybe doing some of the internships, hands-on things, going out and meeting with all sorts of different people who are related to what they're looking at, we want them to be making smart decisions and smarter decisions. And so we want that whole flow to go well and to work well. So we're talking behind the scenes. Teachers will see it. We'll have a format for the teachers can give us feedback. They can say, hey, we don't like this. Hey, we like this. What about this? We'll get feedback from the teachers. And then we'll do another rough draft form. And then I'll bring it here to this format. And in my perfect world, because that is tied to registration, the high school registration, I really would like you to see it in November, a rough draft form, then you can see it, think about it, and then we come back in and you can tell me what you like or don't like. And then in December, we bring it back to the full group, for the full group to say green light, yellow light, red light. And here's why December, and that's because in the high school, they're doing registration for kids. That whole process starts in January. Yes, I know, we're already talking about the next school year. But we have to do that because that affects budget, financing, staffing, FTE, everything. So the high school principals really want to know what the courses are, what's going to be offered, what the sequences are, and then they go backwards from there. So you can kind of look forward to also having that rough draft coming at you here fairly soon, once we've gotten all the feedback in.
No, are there going to be like prerequisites for if you choose a certain career path starting in 9th grade, you have to take these courses prior to that? Or is that something that we're looking at coming up?
That is absolutely a major thing we're looking at with the career academies, and especially with the teachers. So if you go into one academy, what is the sequence of courses if you want to go into these job cluster areas? We want to have that laid out. So when kids see that, when they're thinking about their sequences as 9th, 10th graders, 11th graders, they can see, okay, I think I want to go into a business area. I'm not really sure which one, but I can see these are the sequence of courses that I should be taking and taking a look at. Absolutely that. So we might not have all of that done because this is going to be a work in progress, probably for a couple of years. But we need to start those, and especially what's happening between the 6th grade and the 9th grade year, and then start working on those sequences too. So kids know, I want to be an engineer. What course sequence should I take to get to be an engineer?
Thank you.
I'm going to pause right now on those two topics. Questions from any board members?
I have a question. So both of your topics, strategic planning and the career academy planning, how does that tie in with our district advisory committee, which we don't have, but we're revising our policy 603? And you didn't mention anything about that committee and our parents and our community people.
No, I didn't, because I know you're going to talk about it here in a few minutes, so I don't want to be redundant. So Alicia Schroeder, who is in charge of the district curriculum committee, she was in a meeting. We talked about her setting up that committee. So she is going to set up that committee, and these two topics I just said to you, they will be part of the district curriculum review process, because those are two ones that, yes, should go to the district curriculum. So we will get that done.
Because, this is inserted in red, but all this is repeating what statute says. The school board shall establish an advisory committee to ensure active community participation in all phases of planning and improvement of the instruction and curriculum affecting state and district standards. And then this advisory committee makes recommendations to the school board. And there could be a subcommittee, but then we're supposed to have school site teams. So that's a real important committee to get off the ground. And as far as I've been on this board, in the former Evelyn Gilbert and the Rock Ridge, we have not had a district advisory committee, and even before that.
And in addition to what you just said, let me correct some inaccurate information. The district advisory committee, we need to have one. State says we need to have one. This is a committee that wherever district you go to, even in the large districts, this is a committee that struggles because it's tough to get parents on this committee. It is a major difficulty, no matter what the size of the district. However, we've had some good parent attention and participation in the past. So I'm expecting we'll get some volunteers, because it is a volunteer. And as far as what the advisory committee looks at, they do not look at every single curricular thing and decision that is made in the district. That committee would gridlock, and we would not be able to get anything done. So typically, that committee does handle certain topics and certain discussions, and yes, they certainly do, and can make some recommendations, but it is not the sole entity that all the curricular stuff flows through.
No, I didn't imply that at all, but they have specific statutory roles to play. They recommend to the school board, and I just like to say in Evelyn Gilbert in the past, we had very active, very large, very active curriculum advisory committee and staff development committees. And we had documents that laid out the membership, how many this and that, and there was a board member, there were principals, there were, teachers and community members. And it's very spelled out in legislation what they can and can't do. District assessments, it says, means to improve equitable access, program evaluations, the standards, the career. I mean, of course, the career academy planning is certainly a big part of that. So I think we need to go on that.
Mm-hmm. And let me correct some inaccurate information there, Director Sorkin. In talking to Mr. Jeff Carey, the past superintendent of the Evelyn Gilbert District, because we talked about the district curriculum, he told me that curriculum was struggling in Evelyn Gilbert, and it was not highly attended the last 3-4 years.
I was speaking of before that.
They did have difficulty with that one, but you're right, we will have one.
Before he was superintendent, we had.
Going back a decade or so?
No, not a decade. So I don't appreciate when you say misinformation, because it's not misinformation. I served on those committees as a board member and as a community member, and they were very useful and very successful.
But Noel doesn't know what happened 10 years ago in that
Well,
district.
I know, but when he says it's misinformation, I'm just saying they can be very effective and active, but they just haven't been. And even before I was on the board, Bill, and Brandy, at least, I give Brandy a lot of credit, because I was just a district community member at that time, and she did reach out. She had some meetings about what we should be doing about curriculum advisory and staff development. And so that, there's so many things that kind of got dropped by the wayside, but it's not disinformation of the importance, and that they can be a very active and all right, so.
And it very well could have functioned very differently. All I'm saying is that in the near past, it was not functioning well.
And
But we want this one to function well, and we will make.
that committee has to make a yearly report to the state, the World's Best Workforce Report, too.
Yep.
And that's not to be taken lightly either.
No, and the World's Best Workforce, that also has another committee that's involved with that one, which involves parents. And that will come to this board. That always comes to the full school board to approve. You'll hear that. Scott Manny is in charge of the district report. And I have already talked, so he's working on it, and he knows what he needs to do. So stay tuned for that. You will hear Scott Manny coming before you a couple months talking about the World's Best Workforce Report. Any other questions on those two items? Last item, Director Reardon did tell the board members that 8.1 is being pulled. We are not going to have the combined City of Gilbert School Board Work Study Session. The developer who had made an MOU offer is having second thoughts. And he and I will talk some more, but nothing may develop with this developer. And so we are not in a situation where it's going to be productive to have the meeting at this stage of the game. So I just want to let you know that's what's happening. These are difficult things to pull off. And he is just looking at his numbers, rethinking it, whether he really could make a go with that, even with participation from other entities. We'll talk some more, but at this point, he's saying yellow flag. I want to think about this some more. So that's what happened on that one. And that's all I have, Director Reardon.
So tied in with that, though, it's related. How is that marketing package coming that you're working with a couple people with?
I talked to Dave and Laurel, the two citizens from the community who have been working with me on that. And we agreed when the developer showed up with the MOU offer, the three of us agreed to direct our energies in that area. And so that's what we have done, is directed our energies in that area, which means that has been on hold, so we'll have to fire that up again. Because this developer, he was our best shot at it right now.
So it was put on hold, but now you're going to resurrect it? I thought you were working right through, no matter what, because he might not have been the only developer.
Right, but I also need some individuals to help and do some things. And when all of us are saying, let's try and make this deal work, that's what we did. Sometimes you don't get everything you want, but we still will continue on that process now that we know what we know.
I'd just like to comment that I think it was when I saw we had a session planned with the City of Gilbert, I thought that was very positive. Unfortunately, developers putting things on hold, there's really nothing to talk about, but in, attempting to repurpose these schools, I think it's important that while we ultimately have the decision on what we do with our surplus property, but I do think it's important to get the respective municipalities involved to seek their input, similar to what we did with Evelyn from the old Evelyn-Gilbert district. So.
And Director Schulberg, we will continue with that. There may be another individual or entity who maybe can partner with the City of Gilbert if they're interested. So we will continue along those lines. Anything else from the board? Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. Item 6, policies. Item number 1, first readings. How does the board want to handle this? Go through each one or do it in a
I would just
block?
move that we recognize the first reading of the policies noted in the agenda.
Well, I think we need to have a full board discussion on these policies, especially because they have substantive changes and they need three readings. And I sat in on the committee meeting and they spent over 20 minutes on just one policy. And now this will be our chance to have input and the full board, which is only proper.
I think unless that you have a specific policy, or if anyone has a specific policy they want to delve into, I don't know that we need to,
Do you understand all the changes in these policies that you want to just pass them all in one lump sum?
Well,
I made the motion.
I'll second that motion,
We
and
have a motion by Stacy, second by Matt. I think myself, I haven't been able to go through all of them in this short time of getting them on Friday and passing this first reading as a group. We can all then review them and come back for the second and the third.
exactly. And I would like to compliment that we're seeing these in redlined fashion, so
Yes.
that makes it quick to.
Quick to-
And I'm with you. We have 2 more readings. We have specific comments after we've had a chance to digest them.
Well, I totally disagree, because a second reading and a third reading, there's so much here that we should take some time on each one of them. And our other policy about developing policies said that on these 3 meetings, we are to give the public, afford the public input on these policies. And I don't know if anybody in the public is here to do that. They may be at the next meeting, but that's part of our formal policy too. And so it's, you give 3 readings to have discussion. And if you think that when we have the second reading, that you're going to be more prepared to have a good, full discussion, there's a lot here. There's a lot here.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot here.
The public had a chance to see the proposed changes just like we did. And they'll have a chance over the next 4 weeks or whatever it is between meetings. And
So the concerns in the comments and questions that I have will not be afforded at this meeting if this motion passes. So you're just saying I have to wait until the next meeting? That's not right. We are supposed to be discussing these policies. I have plenty of things to point out and to make suggestions. And there are some inconsistencies in these policies, and I think we should take the time.
Is there any other discussion on this? So we have a motion to adopt the first reading of these 18 policies. All those in favor signify.
Just a discussion, we're in the discussion?
I asked if there was any other discussion, Paul.
Just one suggestion then, if there are 18 policies, maybe we should take them in smaller chunks, so then we can have discussion and it won't be such a big job at one point in time. So if the second reading is going to be another 18 policies, that's a daunting task.
well, I don't know that we'll need an in-depth discussion on every single policy.
Not all of them.
My thoughts on it, Polly, is some of them are with the smaller changes and
Right.
making the changes to the statutes that have to be changed. I think those will go quickly.
some of them, there's hardly any changes at all to them.
No, I agree. Go ahead, Tom.
So are you saying that the change, basically the change is at the policy committee, so any changes on the policies were MSBA model changes that they changed?
There were others that weren't MSBA.
No, there was others that weren't
Okay,
MSBA.
And they were something to do with, I think, one of them was public input, right? I mean,
Plus one.
okay, I mean, if this is the recommendation by the committee to make these changes,
Why shouldn't we hear them?
well, I think
And
they should have been,
discuss
I think it'd been nice to say like policy 206 wasn't changed, or policy 207 wasn't changed, policy 203 wasn't changed, but,
All the ones on here are changed.
huh?
All the ones on
here
here
are
have been changed. Some of them are just spelling out the abbreviations. I mean, there are some that were just, very little changes, and those ones should,
But changed by the district or changed by MSBA?
You know what, I think
They're all our policies.
I know, but they were modeled, yeah, okay, but,
what we can do is ask from the notes from the committee, the ones that were changed because MSBA or Minnesota statutes, give us a group of those, and then give us the ones that the committee changed the verbiage or whatever, or added verbiage on their own. That way, go ahead, Noel.
Just to update the board, because I was present, there was one policy. All of the red changes that you see are coming from MSBA. The policy committee wanted to make one additional recommendation, and it was on the policy regarding public input. And so the policy committee suggested, they talked about, well, should we have 3 people? Should we have 10 people? Should we have unlimited people person? So the policy committee and board members who were there, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the one, they added a sentence in there at the end of one of the policies as far as the number of people to speak at a school board meeting. That's the one addition they did in addition to anything that MSBA is suggesting.
That was
There was
10.
another one, yeah. There was another change, Noel. There was another change, is to take out only agenda items only.
Right. There were 2.
Yes, I guess I didn't consider that to be,
Yes,
that's a deletion. That wasn't anything that the committee recommended adding.
it was a change in the policy. It was a big
It
change
was
in the
to
policy.
make 2 policies consistent. You had 2 policies. One of them said you could talk on things that were non-agenda items. And then you had another policy that said you couldn't talk about things where non. So the committee is recommending that the policies be similar in that people can talk on non-agenda items.
There were other,
Limited to 10.
right,
Yep.
Okay, so we've had some discussion on this. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose?
no.
So we have 7 yes, and Polly votes no. So make sure that all the board members take a look at these, kind of for our next board meeting, so that we can discuss them in detail if needed. Item number 2, policies that must be reviewed annually, and there is no changes.
No substitute.
Substantive changes. Item number 1 is 506, student discipline, and item number 2 is 806, crisis management policy. Is there a motion?
Okay, go ahead.
Support,
And that is to adopt these,
yes.
okay?
Is that your motion, Tom? That's-
Second by Stacy. Discussion.
I do agree that there are many of these policies that are just, what do you say, housekeeping items, okay? They might quote a different statute, or they might change the verbiage, just very minimal things. But there are some of them, I have 6 here that I have pretty, I think, pretty important discussion about. But the student discipline policy, yes, that was very non-substantive, but I just wanted to know, and for us to make sure that the policy, it's a very long policy, coincides and aligns with our student handbooks and our, I think we have a different athletic discipline policy, and I think there's some misalignment in those, and we have to have them aligned. I think formerly, I don't know if it was the Rockridge School Board or just the Evelyn Gilbert School Board, took our discipline policy and made it less specific, and it was more generalized. And at the time, I thought that that doesn't do anybody any good to make it more generalized, because people need to know what the expectations are, students, and well, even our employees, and then know what specific steps will be taken and when. Otherwise, it's so subjective that different students and different people could have different, interpretation and different things happening to them, when they have an infraction, or if it's a student or whatever. So I'd like to make a note of that this big policy is going to align with our student handbooks.
Our athletics
Okay?
and our handbook.
Athletics. So
Yep.
somebody needs to take a look at that too, because I think they're not aligned.
Are you able to point to anything specific as to how they're not aligned?
I think I brought this up at last year, at this annual thing. I don't have anything specific now, but I did pull out the student handbook, and it's in my packet here somewhere. Didn't have a chance to compare and contrast.
Okay, what we can do is have the principals and the athletic department look at the student discipline and make sure that they're aligned on how those two departments want it read, and if it's changed, we can bring that back the next meeting and,
I just recollect, what, a year and a half ago or whatever, we sat down and lined Virginia's with Evelyn Gilbert's with Masabi East, and then we looked at the high school league policy, and then we looked at the MSBA policy, and everything was kind of brought together. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that we were sharing sports, so that was important.
yeah, because with our co-ops, we have
Yes,
all different,
yes,
yeah.
Yes, I thought that was all brought together. Am I wrong?
No, I don't.
Okay,
think
so then we shouldn't be looking, I mean, we can be looking at,
Well, just to confirm it.
okay, all right,
Yeah,
very good.
that's all. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Carried unanimously. Oh, let's take a break here. Oh, no, yeah. Just kidding. Administration item, consider approval of the 22-23 COVID mitigation plan. Misty Elliott. Thank you for waiting, Misty.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. So I'm Misty Elliott. I know most everybody here. I'm the licensed school nurse for Rockridge Public Schools. And I just have the opportunity to thank each of you for serving our community, our students, and our staff members. So a round of applause for me. And even thinking of COVID, I was looking back through the last couple of years. I have this COVID folder in my Google document, and it is unbelievable to go back and look at the process of all that we have done, from contact tracing, measuring kids' desks from where they sat, all these crazy things that we have done to keep our students and staff members safe. So with that said, I've reviewed the COVID plan from 21-22 and simplified it to best address the needs of the district today during the 22-23 school year. This COVID plan, I'm assuming everybody already has it, has been able to read through it. So it addresses masking, best practice, health screening, testing, quarantine and isolation, positive results, notifications and monitoring. On Thursday, October 6th, I reviewed the plan with the high school principals, or with the district principals, and the principals approved the proposed plan after making one change to the isolation guideline for a person who tests positive with COVID-19, and that's reflected in the draft before you. So the draft notes under the isolation for a positive COVID-19 result follow the MDH isolation guide for schools, childcare, and youth programming found, and then it lists the website. And this website is also on our school website under the COVID information, and it looks like this. But what they added then was, with the exception of after day 5, masks are recommended through day 10. I just want you to be aware that if the district leaves this exception in place, a COVID positive student or staff member could choose to return to school during the contagious period, days 6 through 10, and not wear a mask to help mitigate the spread of the illness. As licensed health professionals, our health office follows the guidelines provided by the Minnesota Department of Health, and these guidelines state to continue to wear a mask through the contagious period, which is 10 days from the onset of illness or your positive test date. In our health office, we have never changed the recommendations for exclusion care mitigation strategies provided by the Minnesota Department of Health for any infectious disease, and it is my opinion that we should not change the guideline provided by MDH for a person who tests positive with COVID-19. So it's my opinion that we would remove from this draft, with the exception that after day 5, masks are recommended through day 10. So it's just something for you to consider. And one other item that I wanted to address is testing, COVID-19 testing. This document states that we are not offering COVID-19 testing. However, I want you to know that we do have rapid test kits available in our offices that were left over from last year, and we have been giving these tests out to students and staff members when they're needed. Additionally, we applied to receive free Buy Next Now over-the-counter home rapid tests provided by MDH for all schools in Minnesota for the 22-23 school year. So my question is it okay to continue to provide COVID tests to students and staff as long as they are available at no cost to the district?
I would make a motion to approve that.
We have a motion.
So moved. Support.
Bill, just to clarify, just to approve like that portion of continuing the testing?
That is correct.
Okay.
How many tests do you have right now, presently?
I didn't count them.
I'm just curious, like hundreds or 10 or?
Oh,
Curious.
probably like maybe 200.
Okay.
We don't have a great amount, but we are expecting we will receive one test for every staff member and every student is what we will be receiving. Tests.
So will you be giving these tests to students without parental approval?
So we do not test students for COVID at school. There's a licensure that you need in order to do that. So we have always acquired the tests and given them to students to take home, and their parents can administer them at home. So simply we are being given the tests and we're giving them to be taken at home.
I think it's great that you guys are able to do that.
I do too. It helps. Any questions in regard to the COVID mitigation plan?
Can I just have you clarify one more time? You talked about, you have the COVID mitigation plan and then the principals suggested a change. And can you, just so I get it in my head,
Okay.
clarify what the principals wanted and what you're suggesting?
So the original plan stated when someone tests positive for COVID, to follow the MDH guidelines for isolation for that COVID positive person. And the principals added an exception to wearing the mask. So they put so basically a person has to quarantine for 5 days. And after 5 days, if their symptoms have improved and they're fever free for 24 hours, they can return to school or work on day 6. And according to the Minnesota Department of Health, you're still supposed to wear a mask through day 10 because that's a contagious period. And so the principals added the exception that a mask is recommended to wear through day 10. So it would not be required. So I could have COVID, come to work on day 6 and not wear a mask while I'm contagious through day 10 if we add that exception. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
The MDH guidelines, though, for isolation, I think, different than the federal ones. With the 10 days, I think they've changed it now to 5 days. And the period that you're contagious and a moving target, and so has the controversy about masking. It's been a big. If you compare our policy from last year to this year, there's like 1,000% difference about all the restrictions and all of the.
It has changed a lot, right?
Changed very, very, very much.
However, I believe the contagious period has not changed. That has always been 10 days.
I think the CDC guidelines and the Department of Health guidelines are consistent with the 5 and the 10 days.
So I understand it, the word that's being changed on if you're tested positive is recommended from 6 to 10 rather than required.
Correct.
Right.
So do we have to vote on the testing part first and then?
Well, what Bill did was he made an amendment to passing of this. So I guess, like I always try to tell you, that you vote on the amendment before you vote on the main motion, so.
He didn't make an amendment to the policy, he just,
Okay.
Well, he did,
no, he didn't.
No, I just,
It was regarding the testing.
the recommendation
for the
that,
whole policy. Tim asked you to clarify if you were making,
We still aren't testing, we're simply.
Right, we're not testing, we're just providing.
Kits for.
We're providing,
students
we don't-
that ask for it.
but that's a change to this plan, and that's what you said she was recommending a change to this plan that we are going to consider adopting. So that's an amendment to the plan. The amendment comes first before the main motion on the
So I clarified if he was making a motion on the whole plan or just the testing,
Just the testing,
all the testing.
just the
Just the
testing.
test.
So that's the motion that's behind, before
Yeah.
us now.
Changing the plan, so that's an amendment to the
It's,
We are going to be,
separate things.
then we will take up the whole policy.
So then I'll make a motion to adopt the policy with
We have to
his recommend.
amendment first.
Oh, would you let me make my motion and not interrupt me, please, Director?
We have a motion on the floor.
Okay, I'll rescind my motion,
Okay?
okay?
In my second.
Okay.
So I'm making a motion to adopt the COVID plan per Misty's recommendation and to allow that we provide test kits for students who want them.
And I will second that.
so to clarify, it's per her recommendation, not
Not the
per the
principal's.
plan that was put in front of us.
Correct.
So that's not in here to give students and staff testing kits?
It will be.
It will be if this passes.
Okay. So
This would eliminate the phrase "with the exception of after day 5, masks are recommended through day 10."
that's a second change.
Nope, that's what I just talked
That
about.
was her
Just-
motion.
That's what her motion was, Polly, so.
But yours was to give the test kits because
He
that's not.
I
withdraws
rescinded.
and he withdrew a second, so.
I need to understand the full motion too, the full motion too. So now there are two changes.
Two changes, one motion. Correct.
Changes, one motion, okay.
We're going to, Stacy said that we will approve Misty's
Two recommendations.
two recommendations, one being the recommendation to wear a mask will become, you will wear a mask 6 to 10 days.
No,
I think
Not
no,
mandatory.
it's recommended.
No, that's
Rec-
not what she's saying. No, I'm confused too.
That's not what she
Misty, what is,
So under quarantine and isolation, it says follow the MDH isolation guideline for schools, childcare, and youth programming found at, and it lists the place, to eliminate with the exception of after day 5, masks are recommended through day 10. We can just simply remove that
Does
sentence.
the website given here, does that say that masks are mandatory when you come back from day 6 to 10?
It doesn't use the word mandatory. It says that I can read it to you.
Yeah, we need to know that.
I think the policy just basically says to follow MDH guidelines.
It just says to wear a mask. It just says wear a mask through day 10.
So is that voluntary or mandatory?
It doesn't say
Our
required, it doesn't say recommended, it
But
just
per
says wear a
our
mask.
policy, we're going to say that if you come back with a positive result, day 5 through 10, you have to wear a mask.
I disagree with that.
I would
As do I.
agree with that. Yeah.
I would say, I'd be not mandatory, but recommend.
Recommended.
Very fine with the recommended. I'm required is a problem for me.
You can say highly recommended. I'd be fine with that too.
Can you just leave, or would it, if we just left it exactly as it's written by MDH, it doesn't say required, it doesn't say recommended, it just says
mandatory.
wear a mask.
The principals were obviously, it was unclear to them, or they wouldn't have suggested that you add that last line in.
Right.
And it sounds like it's unclear to,
Well, I think that here, the situation is just simply this, is a child tests positive and they return on day 6. And if we have recommended in there, they cannot wear a mask through, they don't have to wear a mask. It's recommended, but they don't have to through day 10. And so during that contagious period, it's one mitigation strategy that wouldn't have to be followed. Of course, we would always recommend it, but it wouldn't have to be followed. So how that could play out the opposite, if I have a paraprofessional taking care of a special needs student, for instance, and they come back on day 6, they wouldn't have to wear their mask and they can go and take care of that student because it's recommended and not required. So I just want to be sure that you're aware of the different scenarios that could happen if we're not, if we're using the term recommended. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't know. I feel like most people, when they test positive for COVID and you give them the guidelines, they follow through. but that is definitely something that can happen. I think of, here's another situation, toddlers. They have difficulty wearing a mask. They test positive, they return on day 6 and they can't wear a mask. Now they're going to be in the room in their little groups and doing everything during the contagious period through day 10 without a mask. And we just know it's contagious during that time. So the possibility of spread is just that much greater. It is one mitigation strategy. I know that. It's wearing a mask. We have more. We have washing hands. We have spacing kids apart. My concern was we know this is a contagious period and we're just.
I think what you had said is that with every other contagious disease, you follow MDH guidelines. And so that this would not be any exception.
But it sounds like it's,
Well, can you just let her answer the question, Polly?
I let you,
Well, I know, but I'm just asking a question and I would like Misty to answer. So I guess
for all other infectious disease and my nursing practice, I follow the Minnesota Department of Health guidelines. If I didn't, I suppose it would be malpractice.
but we're not clear what those guidelines say.
Well,
I agree, this isn't clear. You can't say, I mean,
it's,
And so it sounds like Misty's had experience with interpreting MDH guidelines and she'll continue to do that as per her licensure.
And I think we need to know what they
I
say
would
so we
just-
don't have trouble.
I'm reading it right now.
I would just hope
yeah?
that if anybody returns on day 6, I mean, I hope nobody returns on day 6 positive, that they would stay home for the other
Well, you have to
4
be,
days.
fever-free for 24 hours. And if your symptoms are not improving, you have to continue to isolate. But typically that I've seen, kids are sick maybe for a day or two and then they're okay. I don't know.
How many
I
other
think-
kids did they infect in that day or two that? we all
Well,
thought
they're
they
a
were
day or
okay?
two because they're isolated at home. My son was sick for half a day, literally half a day.
well,
But adults are sick longer. Yeah, I just don't think like elementary kids.
so you're going to still continue to, she made a motion.
I'm just asking, my motion is simply that Misty continue to follow the Department of Health guidelines.
We don't know.
Okay, so-
They're not-
Well, it's not saying that it's mandatory, it's just,
If they're
So-
not clear, we're setting ourselves up for trouble and we're.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like the way it's written, actually, recommended. That's
well, then let's vote on the
Recommendation.
motion, and if it doesn't go through, you can make another one.
Okay, let's,
Hang on. So it's recommended, no, it's,
Day 6 through 10, it's only recommended. We're not
That's
clear
what the
with the
policy-
I
guidelines.
guess the policy as changed by the principals makes it more specific, and following just the MDH guidelines would be more general.
And I
And I don't know why we would claim to know more than the Department of Health.
pull up the guidelines there, Nicole. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, I did.
I have it here if you really need it.
I actually printed some out in case anybody wants.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone want to print out?
Absolutely.
yeah, and
I like that.
You're most infectious during the first 5 days.
Yeah. And on top of that, there's such,
Thank you.
there's such controversy about the masking, and I'm not even sure under testing if I agree with testing is strongly encouraged. Yeah. Our last
yeah,
policy.
but we're not testing, we're
Excuse me.
sending it home,
Can I
Polly.
finish, please?
Yes, please, I'm sorry.
Our last policy, we recommended vaccinations, and we know way, way more about them now. And so I'm not in support of even strongly encouraged to vaccinate. I know it doesn't
We're
say
not-
it, I know, but I'm saying it did, but
You're off
strongly.
topic.
No, I'm not. Strongly encouraged for testing. I'm not even sure.
Testing is not a vaccination, Polly.
I know
Two
that.
different
I'm
things.
saying they're two different things, but there's still controversy about the test, so I don't even want to strongly encourage COVID testing. Okay, so where does it recommend here about isolation and quarantine? Page 1 or page 2, Misty?
page 2, 0 to 6, wear a mask through the whole thing.
Okay, wear a mask. And that, just to clarify it, it's voluntary or not voluntary? You have to wear a mask or you don't have to?
And I think the line that was suggested by the principals and the policy that we saw just clarifies that masking will not be mandatory after day 6.
I think that makes it clear, yeah.
And Stace, your motion, supported by Director Addy, is that we follow
MDH
MDH,
Which is,
which then
doesn't,
does not say recommended or mandatory.
correct.
Continue to wear a mask when around others, including those in your household, for another 5 days.
Yeah, I think that becomes subject to interpretation and
That's too vague for
Yeah, we-
trouble,
yeah, we can't tell people to do what to do in their houses.
right?
Yep.
can tell them what to do in our schools.
That's right. But hopefully they don't come to school with COVID in the first 5 days.
And her other part of her motion, if I am correct, Stacy, is that the school can hand out rapid tests, correct?
As long as we have them available.
As long as we have them available at no cost. So everybody understand what this is?
Yeah, just one question. Under testing on the second page, it says, we are not offering testing. So now you're changing it to offering? That's the part you're changing?
I'm not sure how you want to word that. I didn't want to be responsible. I didn't want our district to be responsible to have to provide testing. But if they're available at no cost, then I'm asking permission to be able to provide those tests. So if maybe there's a better way to write that.
Because
I think that makes sense.
Unless they're available on a first serve, or first come, first serve basis or whatever, and
If they're available.
available or whatever, if they're gone, they're gone.
Yep, right.
So we'll have to take out that second bullet. We are not offering testing, to change it to whatever verbiage you want. But they will, rigid or rapid tests will be available.
We are offering testing as available.
We're not offering testing, however,
We're offering.
We're off.
test kits are available, we'll distribute them.
Right.
Well, supplies last.
While supplies last, yeah.
Okay. I think we're semi all clear on this. All those in favor of the motion stated by Stacy and hashed over here, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Let's do a roll call, okay? Stacy?
Aye. I think it's a tie. Aye.
Matt?
No.
Cole?
No.
Tom?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Polly is a no, and John is a no.
John's a no.
So it fails. Okay, we're back to square one.
I would make a motion that we accept the COVID plan as presented in our board packet, with the exception to add the verbiage that we will distribute test kits as available.
I support.
Okay, so we have a motion by Matt, support by Nicole. Support the, as presented, the draft with the addition of, we will hand out test kits
Subject to availability
subject
or
to
however.
availability and at no cost for the school. Would you like that friendly?
That's fine.
Okay.
We're not going to buy any, so that's.
Right, that's, yeah.
I
Okay,
just have a question and discussion here.
yep,
So if we offer test kits to students to take home and to test, how do we know that they're not going to test themselves before they get home with those test kits?
They could, I suppose.
And that's the problem to me.
Why do we care?
Yeah.
And kids
Parents
that,
are picky, usually, and unless this,
Parents might not-
age of 16, parents would be picking up a child from school and we'd be handing the parent the test. The only time that a child would have a test without a parent is if they're driving themselves home, I suppose.
But the younger ones, even the 16-year-olds or the 18-year-olds, they could take it. And we do care, Tom, because I do care that parents have knowledge and give consent for it.
parents don't get to have any knowledge of their kids' medical records after 12 without their child's specific consent.
Well, we have a policy, and it says 18, and the other, Arrowhead said something about 16, they give services without parental knowledge and consent, and now you're talking about 14, and there's still controversy around the vaccines and the tests, okay? And so if we're going to hand them out to students, and there's any possibility of there being any kind of a medical harm or something, I don't think we should be giving them out to students. Would this be elementary?
So here, if a test is being given to a student, they're in the nurse's office because they're sick with symptoms of COVID, we're calling home, we're talking to the parent, we would tell them, would you like me to send home a COVID test with your child? So they would be informed. If they said, no, I don't when we ask, we've been doing this, they ask, oh no, I already have some, I don't need one, save it for someone else. Okay. But that is, and we've been doing that. We will continue to do that. We don't just hand them out. We save them for when they are needed. When someone has symptoms of COVID and we think it would be a good idea for them to test, we'll make that recommendation to a parent. And then if need be, most of the time, parents at that point, when a child is sick, sometimes they're taking them to the clinic, they're being tested for influenza and COVID all at the same time. We really use the tests. Maybe some people have difficulty with access for testing. We aren't just,
I understand that.
Out as needed.
I understand that. So then you're saying that no student will be given a test kit to take home unless you talk to the parent first?
We will talk to the parent, yes.
It has nothing to do with their
Because
age?
we would not be sending a child home, either due to illness, without notifying a parent or guardian.
Okay, so the parents will know that a test is being given to their child. Okay?
And I can ensure that I talk to
And
them that.
made available. If the parents say no,
Then there wouldn't be
then
testing. It's just.
and we keep it for a parent or a student that says, yes, send my son or daughter is sick, yes, send it home so we can test further.
The parent will always know if a test kit is going to be, and they will say yes or no, for a test kit to be sent home with a student.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I just have concerns that we have a nurse in front of us who's the nurse for the district who's made a recommendation. We have inserted ourselves ahead of that. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Any other discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor of Matt's and Nicole's motion to approve the plan as presented with the addition that we will make available kits to students that test positive for COVID. With the parents' knowledge. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
So we have Polly, no. Tom, no. Stacy, no.
Motion passes.
Matt, well, we can do a roll call again, I would imagine. No,
I
have,
think it's 5-3.
5-3.
okay, so with this motion, Stacy,
No.
Stacy's a no. Matt,
Yes.
Matt is a yes. Nicole,
Yes.
yes. Tom,
No.
no. Mr. Addy,
Yes.
Polly,
No.
John,
Yes.
and the board chair votes yes. Very good.
Thanks, Misty.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
The next let me see here, where are we here? No, I'm trying to jump ahead, I know. Consider approval of 7.2 agreement between Rock Ridge Public Schools and Minnesota North College for post-secondary enrollment options for the year 22-23.
So moved.
We have a motion by Director Stacy, second by Director Tamaro.
You got it right.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried, 8-0. 7.3, some consider submitting a nomination to the Northeast Service Cooperative to fill a vacant seat on the Northeast Service Co-op Board of Directors. My term is up, and I am requesting to have my name be put on the ballot.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Stacy, support by Bill. Is there any discussion?
So it says 2 positions for 4 years and 1 for 2 years. Does that mean we could nominate more than one person?
No, only, the school district can only have one individual on.
Okay, didn't designate how many would be from.
Yeah, I'm running for the 4-year.
Yeah, I see you here, that you're already on, okay. And then, so the other two positions, would they not be school board members from other districts? They would be maybe city
No,
or township people?
this specific elections for school board members.
They're all school board
Yeah.
members, okay. So there'd be 2 more openings.
We actually do have offsets like we do different years, and the city county are on a different pathway.
Okay. So there'd be 2 more. Would that be the other ones that say 2018? Walt Haudala, Bob Raya, and you? You're all 3 up, and they're looking for 3 more?
Yeah, Walt is running, is
Right.
stating that he wants to run for 4-year. Bob Raha is running for a 2-year position, and I'm running for another 4-year position.
Okay, that makes sense, because those are the 3 terms that are,
Yep.
okay.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And 1 abstention by myself. Thank you. Consider a proxy statement from the Minnesota School Boards Association Insurance Trust.
Can you explain this to somebody? Appoints clerk.
Well, do you have,
Yes, members of the board, I can give you a cursory explanation. If you would like a more detailed one, we can have Spencer come back, or I can Spencer give you additional information. This comes up every year. There is a trust, and so it is simply, it's almost like a perfunctory, I don't want to use this word, perfunctory information that they send out to me. I didn't want to sign it by myself for the Rockridge School Board, so I just put it out here. So I guess I would suggest, if you're uncertain, that we'll just bring Spencer back here to give you a understanding of what exactly this is.
Well, I don't understand it. And then it looks like there could be other people appointed. Instead, there's a 2 and 2 more, 2 for a 4-year term, and 2 for such other business.
Right, they have boards just like you have,
they have a board for Ms. Lab.
and you could vote on those individuals or not. So you can choose to vote for those individuals or not. That's really what this is.
I know, but I guess I'm wondering, are there any other individuals that might want to be designated as the proxy for Ms. Bates?
If they wanted to be run, they would have told the insurance trust, and you would see their names on the top. That's what they sent me. If you want to write somebody in, be my guest.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Support.
That our proxy would be in support of Mr. Hautala and Mr. Steffes. That's your
Correct.
motion.
As presented, yes. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now I'm all scribbled up here. I believe that's it. Our next regular board meeting will be held on Monday, October 24th at 6 PM here at the Rockridge Admin Building. I am looking for a motion for adjournment. We have a motion by Director Tamero. By Director Addy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you, and have a good evening.